Awesome. Thanks, Louise. Hi, everyone. Thanks for taking some time and hanging out with me for a little bit to talk about taking care of yourself. It's something that we all strive to do, right? Finding the time, carve it into our day, a little bit of me time. It's really important, but it always seems to be the first thing that falls off our to-do list because those to-do lists are pretty long, especially for yourselves as teenagers and young adults. I know that list is very long. You have a lot of responsibilities to get done through the day. I'm hoping today we can talk a little bit about the importance of taking some time for you. Let's get started here. Um, all right, so the first kind of point is why should we even bother about self care? Well, let me say, your physical and mental health depend on it. That is why. Um, Three main categories of self care we're going to talk about today being physical activity, sleep, a good night's rest, and then participating in those meaningful leisure activities. Those are kind of three key ingredients to ensuring that we have increased mental acuity. When I say mental acuity, what I really mean by that is focus, attention, concentration. We can shift our thinking back and forth really quickly, which is crucial for you as students or out in the work world, right? You've got all this information coming at you at once, and you need to have your brain prepared to flip back and forth um, and tune into all the important information coming at you. The next thing that um, impact we can see is positive self-efficacy. And when I say self-efficacy, what I mean by that is belief in ourselves and belief that we can do things and we're good at things. And sometimes that gets hard, right? We just sometimes put on those goggles where the world seems a little bit negative or our belief in ourselves is pretty low. But by participating in some of these self-care tasks, we can start turning that around and take some time to reflect on, hey, I nailed that today. I'm really good at blah, blah, blah. And the final positive outcome that we can hope for when we engage in some self-care activities is we can prevent or decrease the symptoms of depression, anxiety, and stress. So very, very important. So I want to get started here with a bit of a poll, a bit of a check-in. If you could please answer the question. The question is, which of the statements below, Louise is getting us started with her poll here, which statement below best describes how you feel when it comes to self-care? So you can select any of the options there from I practice it daily, I practice at least once a week, it's really important to me, I just can't find the time, that's great, when do I squeeze it in? And yeah, right, he's got time. So I'll give you a few minutes to answer that poll there, just a second. And for those of you who are saying, yes, I'm practicing it, if maybe in the comments question section, you could give us some examples of how you're doing that. And that's really helpful for your peers out there to get some ideas that they might want to try themselves. So it's just seeing a balance here in those responses of from, yeah, you know what, it's important I practice at least once a week. And then there's, yeah, it's important, but when do I find the time for it? That's a valid response to have there because you do have so much on your plate, and yet it's important. So when we get to the very end of the presentation, we're going to chat a little bit about setting some goals. And I'm wondering for those of you who said, I just can't find the time, if we want to pay special attention in that section to think about when are we going to squeeze it in and what could it be? Thank you for participating in that. Okay, so our first aspect of self-care that we are going to talk about is physical activity. Get moving. Let's go. So the guidelines suggest that for yourselves as teens, young adults, and even myself as an adult, that we need to have 1 hour of physical activity a day. I'm not saying you have to run a marathon in an hour, but that could be anything from light physical activity, going for a light walk, doing some gentle yoga, gentle stretching at your home, getting together with friends and moving about the community. Or it could be anything as intense as dancing, aerobics, weightlifting, tennis, soccer. So there really is quite a variety in there and what we can, how we can define physical activity. Very important. What we know about physical activity is it boosts up our endorphins. Those are the chemicals searching through our body that are uppers. They feel good. The more physical activity we do, the more endorphins we're going to have released. Some studies suggest that it actually boosts our serotonin. And what we know about that is there could be a link between increased serotonin levels and decreased depressive symptoms. So that could be another benefit for you. Another thing about physical activity is it provides an opportunity to socialize. So that's important to you as teens. I know that. Hanging out with your friends. But you could do two things at once. You can get that physical activity in, feel good about yourself, get the endorphins going, and hang out with friends. So that seems like a pretty fun option. But you know what? Some of you also hanging out with friends, getting outside, like yeah, that could seem overwhelming too in your day. So there's lots of fun, like online. You could type in on YouTube, you can find some great fitness videos that maybe you could just do in your home yourself. In my day, it was the Wii Fit. Don't even know if that's still an option out there for you guys or what the newest video gaming technology is for fitness, but there are bound to be lots. And so those are options that you could just do in your own room or in the living room at home. If you're still that phase of, I want to do some physical activity, I just don't, I'm not ready to do it in front of people yet. So that's okay too. So here's some other examples of how we can make it happen. In the Hamilton community, we have these wonderful walks called mood walks. And those are organized. You can find them in different places around the community, but one place is here through the Linwood Charlton Center. We have our Youth Engagement Working Group. So it's YEWG, YEWG. And they offer mood walks across the city. They started just a few weeks ago. I'm just finding my phone that right now so I can do that with you. Oh, here we go. They start at the end of April and they go all the way into the end of October. They're about 1 hour every 2 weeks. And you can register days before. You can find out more about them though. Louise, I'm going to pass over the link to you if you could share that in the comments there. But you can follow them Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and they're always posting where their walks are going to be. They're hour long outside. Our next one's going to be June 12th, 6:30, and the location will be posted again on those social media platforms I just shared. But Louise will get those up there for you. Another thing we could do is just to motivate yourself or through some apps. So you could use the app like MyFitnessPal or Carrot Rewards. So that actually tracks. They can connect on your phone. It could be like a step counter on your phone, or if you have like a Fitbit or a smartwatch, things like that. It can track your physical activity that you're getting through that. And you can set goals for yourself. You know, I want to do so many steps a day, or I want to have this high level of intensity workout for this long. Set those goals small. So for myself right now, my goal is to get up twice a day, and we've got kind of a block around where my office is, and I need to do that block two times twice a day. So that's my goal. I'm starting small, but if you're already really active, you can bump that up for yourself. And the great thing about the Fitness Pal or Carrot Rewards is you can encourage your friends, and you can see each other's goals and motivate one another to reach them. Okay, so moving past, oh, We Fit Yoga. Awesome, that's cool. Didn't even know about that. Moving past physical exercise to the next important piece is sleep. So I'm wondering if you guys could take a poll for me right now to answer the question, how much sleep do you currently get a night? From 0 to 4 hours up to 9 hours plus. Simply click there. All right, so it's looking like 5 to 8 hours is where most of you are landing. Go, drum roll, please. How much is suggested by the National Sleep Foundation? 8 to 10 hours. So if you're on that 8 hours, great, you're in the block. If you're closer to that 5 hour, you need to think about that because sleep is essential to our everyday functioning. If we don't get enough sleep, we're cranky, we're tired, we're sleepy, we miss important things going on. It's hard to concentrate. So, the more sleep that we can get, the better it is going to be for our functioning. So here we go here. Irritability, difficulty concentrating. So one thing I want to talk about a little bit too is what's getting in the way of that sleep. So if you are more thinking about, you know what, I'm really at the 5 hour end of that spectrum, or I'm under the 8 to 10 hours. Um, what's getting in the way of that? Again, I know the teenage life, the young adult life is busy. You've got extracurriculars, you want to socialize with friends, you've got all the demands of schoolwork piling up on you. You might have a part-time job, you may have someone else in the home that you're helping to take care of. The list goes on and on. And sometimes it just seems like, oh boy, it's 11 o'clock. I'm just thinking about getting to sleep now, and I need to be awake at 6:30 to get to school in the morning. That's tough. Um, but let's be honest here, let's be real. Another demand for your attention is technology, social media, texting, socializing with friends, but all through our devices, right? So I would like to run this poll right now just to find out from you guys, when are you turning off your technology? When do you shut down the Snapchat, the Netflix, the gaming, the Instagram, the YouTube? How long before bed are you guys able to turn that off? Oh, yeah. Thank you for that question that just came in. I'm going to get to that. I'll just read that right now. Also, it's a really good question that just came in. Um, so So I'd be really interested. So people are responding back, yeah, I'm using that tech to help me fall asleep, or it's always in bed with me. It's just there. I've got all these texts coming in, and I got to respond to them throughout the night. So that's a lot of pressure that you're for the person who has it. People who are kind of taking it into bed and feeling that they've got to be on top of all this technology and be up to date. That's a lot of pressure um, on top of yourself. And really, the goal of sleep is to sleep. So when we have that technology competing for that time, it gets tricky. Um, Using it to fall asleep. So this can in the short term, it might actually be helpful. I don't know how people are using that, but or you might think that to be helpful, right? You've got you're scrolling through maybe just social media there, or you're reading on your device, or listening to some TV kind of in the background. But what we know is that's actually having a long-term effect of changing kind of some of your brain some of the chemicals being released in your brain that then tell your body's rhythm, it's called the circadian rhythm, of when it's time to be awake and when it's time to be asleep. So you might actually be pushing that fall asleep time later and later, the more and more that we're bringing this technology into our beds with us. So don't just trust me. Harvard published it too. And they're suggesting that the blue light from the tech is shifting that melatonin in our brain. So melatonin tells our brains it's time to shut down, it's time to fall asleep. Um, and the more and more that we're having this blue light on us, the longer it's going to take for the melatonin to be released. It's getting delayed, and then we're looking to be awake longer. Now, I really want to get to this question right now. It was a great question. It says, whenever people tell me to practice self-care, I always suggest the same things. I'm kind of suggesting them right now, aren't I? Exercise, healthy eating, sleeping, mindfulness. These aren't the things I need. Sometimes I just need to lay on my bed and do nothing for an hour. It's not bad. I tell you, sometimes it's okay if yes, take that hour, please, to rest. Rest is what you need, and just lying in your bed. What I would become cautious around is the hour turning into longer and longer? Is it getting in the way from you being able to then get out of bed and to doing all those things in your day that you previously really enjoyed doing or that you need to do, that's when I think, you know what, that's a bit of a problem. But if it's for some relaxation, enjoy that hour. And let's see, hopefully your day has some other things built into it too, in terms of some leisure activities that you're going to get to next, things that you really enjoy. So just be aware of, is this hour turning into longer and longer times? And am I starting to withdraw from things that I previously really enjoyed doing or the responsibilities that I've had? I just want to caution there for you. So to get into what I can do to get more sleep, increase your physical activity. You're going to be more tired. The more physical activity you're doing, your body's going to get into this rhythm of, I use all my energy now, and now I need to rest up and save some of the energy. And electronics out of the bedroom. Oh, I know it's a huge request for those of you who say you fall asleep with it, or you need to respond to it through all hours of the night. But when we get this relationship and dependency on our technology, it could turn into a bit more challenge for us later in line. Limit your caffeine input. Try to limit it 6 hours before bed. So really, for most of you, that's going to be past, 3 o'clock, 2 or 3 o'clock. We don't want to have the coffees, the espressos, things like that that are going to keep us going. The caffeine drinks. Try to cut them out then. Having a consistent bedtime routine. Waking up at the same time every day, even on weekends. Oh, you're probably not. That probably won't be too well received from all of you out there. Like, oh, the weekends I get to sleep in. But if we keep with that consistent wake time, that circadian rhythm will kind of stay the same for us. Make your bedroom a fun place to sleep. Often some people's bedrooms are just like the most alerting, overwhelming places to get into. But they're there for a purpose of being able to sleep at night. So things that we can do are making sure, is it dark enough? Is there too much light coming into the windows? If it's from the street light, maybe hang a curtain in the window or hang a towel in the window just to really shut that down. Is there too much noise? With earplugs? Is there not enough noise? Sometimes some background music, that white noise can be helpful. You can get a fan in your room to play. Sorry, that sound of the fan oscillating back and forth could be calming for some people. Are there any smells that you find to be calming and soothing? It might be helpful to put a diffuser in your room with some scents that really help you to relax. And then some relaxation strategies. So there's some deep breathing. The HeadSpace app has some great deep breathing strategies on it, and guided imagery. So the next little slide here, this is a link to the Anxiety Canada Youth website that has a mental vacation script. So someone will actually read the script to you, and you might find it helpful to relax. And for the question around, can I just lay on my bed and do nothing? You know what? Maybe it's the time to take your mental vacation. And some of these scripts might be helpful for you. Oh, another comment. Perfect. Thanks, Louise. I usually find listening to music asleep with background noise, but I don't have the screen on. Ah, brilliant. Okay. So here's a great example of how somebody's using their technology. So, can I see these comments, please, if I'm seeing it? Oh, yes. Okay. So someone's saying that, yeah, I use my phone for some quiet music, some background noise to fall asleep, and the screen's face down. As long as you're not tempted with, if there's not a ding in the middle of the night and you have some text coming through and you're like, oh, I have to wake up to check what that is, I think that's a great strategy. And there's some apps, even Relax Melodies is another one that could have some quiet music kind of playing for you too, that you might enjoy for that person who does that. So the final thing for self-care is just do what you love to do. Do what makes you you. What makes you unique? What are your interests? Is it that you really love hanging out with other people and socializing brings you great joy? Find time to do that. Are there different community groups that you can be involved in? Clubs, fellowships, religious groups, anything like that where you can find some connection. That might be a place for you to find others with similar interests and likes. Having some vacation. So now I'm not saying you're going to just suddenly go down to the Bahamas for a few days, but we've got so many fun things to explore in Hamilton. Some great waterfalls, great beaches around that you could just take a day staycation in our city to enjoy some time away. Connecting with nature. So being out, the mood walks offer a great opportunity to go on some of the walking trails throughout Hamilton that allow us just to be with nature. Your sports, your hobbies, um, these are all really important. The other thing I wanted to point out is Rec Hamilton. It was a few slides ago and I didn't make a comment about it, but if you were to go into Google and type in Parks and Rec Hamilton, then they have a whole slew of different drop-ins that you can do for the city, from like basketball drop-in, different gym type drop-ins, swimming. Um, so that could be a great place to find some resources to where you can do some of these things. Another question has just come in. How often should I practice self-care? Right now, I only do it a couple times a week. Am I supposed to aim to do it on a daily basis? Great question. Thanks for asking that. Yeah, I think it really comes down to, are you feeling that you're getting enough time for yourself? Are you feeling that you can take time to prioritize your needs ahead of all those other demands while still meeting all the other demands? So if it's going to be a bit too stressful to think, oh my goodness, I have to do every single day this, and that becomes too intense. No, start small. Maybe on those days right now where you're not able to do self care, carving out just a few minutes to do something that you enjoy would definitely count for that as well. Don't forget, sleep is something too. So getting a good night's sleep 7 days a week, that would count. Um, but yeah, thanks for question. If you actually, the person who commented that practice self care, do it a couple times a week, if you wouldn't mind sharing in the comments, section of what you're doing for that self care, that would be really helpful too. Thank you. So the final piece here is around making a plan, sticking to it, setting a goal. So when we talk about goals, we often talk about making them a SMART goal, and really that's a fancy acronym. It's not fancy. It's an acronym for making it smart, or sorry, specific. So really saying what is it exactly that you're going to do, measurable, like how will I know that I've done it or not done it, achievable. So it has to be something that you actually believe that you could do, and realistic. So, climbing Mount Everest, well, climbing Mount Everest really realistic today? Maybe not, but maybe it's a long-term goal and that'd be amazing. And timely. So it's bound by time. So you want to say, by the end of this week, so by this Friday, I will have done for this amount of time, and who are you going to do it with? That would be a SMART goal. So my goal right now for myself is 3 days a week at 10:15. I'm going to take a walk around the block 2 times with my office mate. So that's pretty measurable and pretty specific. I think I can hopefully achieve that. That was a lot of information I just spewed out to you. It went by very quickly. I would love to hear any questions, any comments that people have. What are your thoughts on what just came up? Sometimes when, oh, hey, this is a great strategy someone just shared. Thank you so much for sharing it. Sometimes when I can't sacrifice some of the things I have to do, like homework, yeah, that's I have to do, I try to combine my self-care into the time I used to do my homework. Looks like me sitting outside while doing my homework while my dog sits with me. You know what? That's a great strategy. So you're able to take in, do homework somewhere where you enjoy, uh, with the companionship of an animal. That's a lovely strategy. Thank you for sharing that. And able to just probably take a few minutes while you're out there, I wonder, and being mindful about where you are, right? Noticing the different sounds of maybe some birds, different animals, or the wind through the trees. Lovely example. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions or comments? I'm really appreciating everybody joining in today. Thank you so much. And
Hey everybody, thank you so much for the contributions and the sharing. Really great thoughts and responses, and very interesting to hear kind of how people are kind of figuring out self-care when it really does feel like, we all understand how important it is, but it's really hard to kind of make it a habit when we have so many of those other demands in our day and in our lives. So thank you so much, Katie, for sharing that. I do see there's a question over here. I'm just gonna copy and paste it across and give you a chance to answer that.
Okay, I'm back. Thank you for that question. The question is there such thing as bad kind of self-care, like things that we shouldn't do? Great question. So my caution here would be, um, is it actually maybe a bit of a maladaptive coping strategy, right? So sometimes what we think is good for us becomes something that snowballs into that affects us a bit more negatively. So, for example, I can give you a few examples. They might not be relatable to you, but some people might start thinking that like using alcohol could be one thing. And I would not suggest that to be self care, right? But you're thinking, oh, I'm doing that for myself. It's a time to relax. Um, Thinking just about different substances, like drugs and substances, I'd really caution you around that. Sometimes, too, if we're thinking even about physical exercise, right, the intensity that we do that with starts off as being adaptive and great and helpful, but perhaps that starts to snowball into, oh, it's starting to go into an unhealthy world. You're doing it too often. You're starting to sacrifice your physical health for the intensity of physical activity that you're trying to get. That's where I really want to caution you around self care things. So we're really wanting to think about, is it helpful for me? Is it helping me to feel better about myself? Is it helping me to get through my day and do all those things that I still want to and have to do? Is this contributing positively to that? So yeah, the difference between sorry, I used the word adaptive at first. So the word adaptive and maladaptive. So, an adaptive coping strategy is something or positive that helps us in the long run to achieve other goals and to achieve those things that we need and want to do. So, for an example of that, let's say you're also you might be a student. So, an adaptive coping strategy is making sure you get enough sleep at night so that you're able to be cognitively prepared, mentally prepared to go to school the next day. A maladaptive strategy is something that starts to get in the way of your ability to do all those day-to-day things. So, instead of just sleeping 8 to 10 hours, maybe you are in bed from 12 to 14 hours. Now, this has become a challenge, right? Because you're losing out on opportunities to do those other things that you have to do. So, that's just where I'm cautioning you there between um, adaptive and maladaptive. Great questions, guys. Thank you.
Hey, wow, those were some great questions as well. I think that's probably the linchpin then for self-care is using strategies that um, don't just feel good in that moment, but kind of fit with us maintaining uh, uh, positive ways of dealing with things and getting through the stuff we have to do without finding ourselves eating away at some of that positive health stuff if our strategies help us cope, but maybe don't contribute to that positive coping and that building skills. Thank you so much, Katie. All the links that ended up in the chat there will be posted to the resource page for this session as well as recording. And we really appreciate your participation today. And we see a couple of thank yous coming into our comments. Thank you so much as well. You will get a follow-up email with a link to the follow-up survey, which is always helpful for us to get feedback on how the session was and what you found helpful and what other suggestions you might have. And we will keep staying in touch with everyone so that we've got more great topics that are relevant to you coming your way. We do have a couple of family sessions coming up, so do stay in touch with our YourSpace Hamilton.ca website and see what things are coming up soon. Thank you so much, everyone, and we look forward to talking to you all again soon.